So I'm Shona Jai. I work for the Children's Foundation Research Institute's Biomedical Informatics Core, and we act as the data management center for the Dup15q research database, and so that's what I'll go over today. And so just to give an overview of what I'm going to talk about, I'm just going to give a brief background, very brief, about the research database, the objective for the database, the data that we're collecting, the uses for the database, how to get access to the database, and how to participate if you're a part of the clinics, and also our future direction with the database. And so the database was established in 2014. This effort was directed by Dr. Larry Ryder with the University of Tennessee Health Science Center in Memphis, Tennessee, and also in collaboration with the Dup15q Alliance and also other clinicians and researchers affiliated with the Dup15q Alliance. And the purpose of the database was to establish a national de-identified database that could be used for research purposes. So with the database, we're able to pull data from multiple patients at different clinics in order to give researchers and clinicians a larger cohort to develop new studies and also further investigate Dup15q syndrome. And so right now, our participating clinics are the Dup15q Center of Excellence in Boston, the Geisinger Dup15q Clinic in Pennsylvania, the Dup15q Clinic in Minnesota, the Dup15q in Memphis. However, the Memphis clinic has since closed. However, we still have access to the data that was collected there, and that would still be made accessible to researchers, and also the clinic here at UCLA. And so to collect data, we're using REDCap. So I'm assuming most people know what REDCap is. REDCap just stands for Research Electronic Data Capture, and it's just a web-based clinical research data management system. And so that's what we're using to collect data. Each of the clinics that are participating have their own REDCap database that they collect identifiable data in. That database is secure. No one outside of the clinics, coordinators, researchers, clinicians can access that database. And that is managed by my team. And so prior to the establishment of the database, the consortium decided on what measures they wanted to collect that would be standardized across all of the clinics. And so those standardized measures are collected on every patient who has consented to participate with the database. And so for a patient to participate, they have to have a confirmed diagnosis of Dup15q syndrome. And so the data collection tools are a combination of both questionnaires and also clinical instruments and testing tools. Each clinic has the option to customize their database. The one thing they can't change are those standardized measures. So because that was agreed on by the consortium, any changes to those measures would have to be agreed on and approved because that would affect all of the other clinics. So we typically don't allow any modifications to that, but you are allowed to add additional testing measures or forms that you collect in your clinic. So if there's something specific to your clinic that you collect outside of what is already there, you can have the option to add that and collect that data. The database is also set up to collect longitudinal data. And so these are the collection tools that that are in the database. The first little box here at the top, I guess can you see that? No. So the first little box here are the questionnaires that are completed by the families. So they complete about 6 questionnaires via email. The other tool in this online testing tools forms are completed when the patient comes to clinic. The families complete the SEQ and CBCL when they come into clinic. And so this other bottom box, other instruments, those are the tools that clinicians decide they wanted to add. Most of those are from Memphis, but there are some common elements in other databases where they share some of these tools. So you can always add whatever you're wanting to collect so you can have it all in a centralized place. And so the general workflow is that the research coordinator, if there is one at the clinic, will have contact with the patient, and they will be the ones to schedule appointments and send out the first initial email, which will be the screening questionnaire. And when that screening questionnaire goes out, it has a place for some basic demographic information, if they're having sleep issues, if they're taking any medications for seizures, things like that. It also has a place to collect the genetic report From there, it will be determined if they are eligible for the study. So one of the clinicians will determine that they do, in fact, have Dup15q, and then they will receive the rest of the questionnaires. The research coordinators are pretty integral in this step because they set up the appointments, and they also help with travel accommodations, at least in Memphis, and I think they do that for the other clinics as well. And so while in clinic, the clinicians fill out these 6 forms here, and the families do the other 2. Ideally, we want that data to be directly input into REDCap when the patient is seen. However, we have had some issues where that is not possible. But ideally, we want that because that would allow us to have the data for sure. It's a lot harder to get people to do it after they've already collected the data on paper. And so again, the goal of the research database is to establish a national de-identified database that you can use for feasibility assessment, cohort discovery, and also data mining. The data is all owned by the Dup15q Alliance. And not only did we want to establish a national de-identified database, we also wanted to be able to share it in a de-identified way, but also be able to share that data with other registries. And so to do that, we decided to use the generate INDAR GUIDs for all participants. And so this is just a workflow of how that process would go. So we have all 5 of our clinics are entering data into our REDCap instance in Memphis. That data will be then de-identified, and GUIDs will be generated for those patients and stored in a de-identified registry, which will then be accessible to researchers and authorized users via I2B2 possibly, or I2B2-like system. And so the uses for the database is that we want to help facilitate and increase the number of collaborations across institutions. The one thing that we've heard a lot is that there are small groups of patients seen at all of these clinics, and we want to give you a large enough data set where you can do a research project, not just within your states or institution, but also across all institutions. We also want to help you facilitate new research ideas and hypotheses with the data that we've collected. And this national database will also assist those multi-clinic site studies by providing the opportunity to collect longitudinal data. And so just to give an overview, we have about 98 patients in all of the databases with a mean age of 7.46, standard deviation of 5.98. And the majority of our patients are female, 52%, well, about half and half. 82% are not Hispanic or Latino, and 87% are Caucasian. And so to access this database, you do have to have IRB approval from your respective institutions to gain access to the data set. The Dup15q Alliance is working on a policy and procedure with sharing that data. And they will give you more details about the process to request that data. And I'll leave that to Vanessa when that comes up. For now, any access you want to the database can be made through Dr. Ryder. If you're a part of the clinic and you're interested in participating, each clinic has to have IRB approval to collect this data. And you also have to have a business associate agreement between the Dup15q Alliance and also your clinic. And this is basically saying that the Dup15q Alliance owns this data. And for more information about that, you can contact Dr. Ryder or Vanessa. Okay, so in conclusion, we've developed a research database to collect longitudinal data on patients with Dup15q syndrome. The next phase of this is developing that de-identified registry where you can search and support feasibility assessments, cohort discovery, things like that. We also are going to be transitioning our REDCap database to REDCap Cloud. So REDCap in its original form is for academic institutions. REDCap Cloud is more for businesses and industry. And so what that will do is pretty much take away the 5 different clinic databases or more, if we have more clinics sign up, and put it into one database. And it will also combine the database with the Dup15q membership database and also their registry database. And so it will make it a little easier as far as sharing data. If a patient were to go to one clinic and need to be seen at another clinic, sharing that data should be fairly simple, and you would also have access to that membership and registry data. And so that should be finished maybe late this fall. So if you have questions about that, you can ask Vanessa too. All right. So I just want to acknowledge the Dup15q Alliance, also Dr. Ryder for bringing us in on this project, my team with the Biomedical Informatics Core, all the participating clinics, and of course the Dup15q families. All right, any questions? Thanks.